Okay, in this video, I want to give you a quick demonstration of Zebra's new PowerPrecision console. The PowerPrecision console is designed to help companies manage their pool of batteries. And in particular, it's designed to help them take batteries that have reached an unacceptable state of health out of service. So this way, their employees are running with batteries that are in the best possible conditions to maintain a state of charge through their work days. So there's two components to the PowerPrecision console. You're looking at the actual console itself that will be used by administrators to kind of configure how the system works and also use it to manage their pool of batteries. And on the device side, there's a PowerPrecision client that would get installed on the device through an MDM or manually, what have you. And then it's configured to communicate with the PowerPrecision console, whether that console is available on the internet or on premise. As long as the device can see that particular server, it will then start communicating and reporting information. So what happens is the device will report information up to the PowerPrecision console based on how it's configured. And there are several data collection triggers so that you can collect information based on certain events. Maybe every time the battery is inserted, you want to capture the battery information, or by default, it kind of reports in periodically. Once a day is probably sufficient. The state of health is something that's going to deplete over a long period of time based on its usage as well. So it's really going to depend. So this is something that you set up and you're going to use, over the course of possibly several months or even into the years category. So as the device is communicating, it's reporting in battery information. And this is particularly for PowerPrecision Plus batteries. PowerPrecision Plus batteries have a built-in state of health to report and monitor the battery conditions. And what we're simply doing is providing a way for administrators to see kind of like three states of health. One is it's in great condition. One, it's reaching its end of life. It's kind of a warning scenario. And the other is when it's reached its end of life and it really should be taken out of service. So how is this determined? Well, there are configurable settings for the administrator to use to determine if it's going to be nearing end of life or if it has reached its end of life. We've kind of given a guide to what these values should mean, but it all is going to depend on how they're using their devices in various conditions. So what they'll do is they'll set this up initially, and then they can tweak it based on their scenarios and determine if those numbers are good. Okay, so in this case, we have several batteries. We have 11 connected to this system. Unfortunately, none of them are in a bad state of health. They're all kind of 100%, but we'll still kind of go through the motions and show you how this works. And essentially what would happen is an administrator would come in here and monitor their pool of batteries every so often. They could probably mostly, they would filter the list so they can see just the red batteries or the yellow batteries. Unfortunately, they're all green right now, but we provide some easy ways for them to kind of, reduce the number of batteries that are shown based on different conditions. They can search for particular batteries, whether they're looking for certain ones that may have or were manufactured at a certain date. Maybe they have a policy for taking batteries out of service every 5-10 years, whatever. They can do that. They can also group batteries to be kind of grouped together based on maybe when they ordered them, or maybe by location, by just a customized tag ability. So they can kind of tag things the way they want and group them so that they can manage their batteries efficiently. We're tracking battery analytics information. So over time, you kind of see the battery charge and you see the state of health. And, over time, you might see the state of health, kind of drop all of a sudden, right? And that's where you would want to monitor things. So this kind of graph shows you the state of health versus state of charge. And you see some history over time as well to see how the battery has been performing in different conditions that have caused the change in scenario. So let's go back to the battery listing page, and we'll actually pretend and set up a device to go out of service, or a battery to be taken out of service, and I'll show you that in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and select this particular battery to be removed from service. It's just a test device that I have here. And when I select it, I'm going to say perform end of life. So this is where an administrator would want to remove the battery from service and have the associate possibly package it up or put it in a box to be shipped to a central station. That all depends on their policies. So you would go ahead and select perform EOL. Now this is where you can set up a message for the user. You could have some instructions like, be sure to check the standard operating procedures guide on battery removal and follow those procedures, blah, blah, blah. You basically put in here whatever you want to send to the user to give them some more information. You can also allow them to kind of snooze the operation. Maybe they're in the middle of something critical and they can't be bothered at this moment, but it's something that you want to kind of nag them and remind them. So you could allow them to snooze, and you could also set this up so that it may happen on a certain date. Maybe you want to do this on a weekend or something where it's a low period in the store. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say allow user to snooze, and we're going to send this message over to the device. Now, the user who's using the device will see this end of EOL alert at different times depending on how PPC is configured. So in this case, we have some options to show this end of life alert, which I'll show you in a second, on the next boot, the next battery swap, or only at certain times. So maybe you want to ensure that the start of the shift, this message comes up, and you want that battery taken out of service so that they're using a fully capable battery. And then there's some other settings in here for default messages. So let me pause this, and I'll come back in a second once I kind of trigger these scenarios to show you the end of alert message on the device. Okay, so now I have triggered, basically did a battery swap, and actually I did a reboot to trigger this condition to happen. And now we see the message on the device appear, and it's basically telling them that the battery needs to be decommissioned, and it's the custom message that was sent by the administrator. Now notice there's a snooze option. So if I went ahead and did a snooze, it will allow me to snooze up to a certain amount of time, and it would allow me to do that based on the number of times that the administrator had configured. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. Now, what's unique about this is this nag message, you can see it kind of sits on top, and I can't kind of get to other applications, and it will follow the battery. So if I take this battery out and don't send it back to the central processing center for decommissioning and put it in another device, the message will then appear, as long as the PowerPrecision console is also installed, client is also installed on that device as well. If I go ahead and issue, if I follow the procedure, I would hit the battery swap, which conveniently launches the battery swap application, and then it allows them to swap out the battery to another battery that is performing better. Okay, and once it's completed that scenario, then the battery is basically decommissioned, and it's taken out of service. The battery would then appear in the decommission tab, and the administrator will be able to see all the batteries that have been decommissioned. If for some reason it needs to go back into service, they can simply select it and undo the decommissioning. So you're never in a state where you're totally locked out. It's up to the ability for the administrator to control this. They also could manually add batteries if they wanted to. So if they're just had a shipment of batteries and they're sitting in boxes, they can go ahead and manually add the batteries so they're all ready to go. Otherwise, the batteries will automatically register as long as they're placed into a device. This will always show the last device that it was connected to. So hopefully that will help the administrator find the physical device and the physical battery for decommissioning. There are a few other settings in here that we talked about in terms of automatic EOL. This is where you can essentially have this happen automatically. So right now, I just demonstrated kind of more of a manual procedure, but if they wanted to turn on automatic EOL, they could come in here and check this box, and basically all of these messages and default behaviors will be done once batteries reach this threshold. So it's basically kind of a set it up once and forget it, and then it would essentially happen automatically without the administrator being involved. So that's kind of PowerPrecision Console at a high level view in terms of what it can do and how it can help customers better manage their batteries or pool of batteries and take batteries that have reached the state of health thresholds out of service